Hello and welcome to Auto Shenanigans. How the devil are you? Have you had a good week? My name is John. Thank you very much for joining me for another exciting Great British Road Journey. This week I've come to County Durham, a county that no one can decide on what size or shape it should be because over the last 100 years or so, its borders have been moved around several times after various councils and unitary authorities stuck their oar in. But that won't spoil our enjoyment, will it, guys? So what do you say we take a journey from Barnard Castle to Darlington? As always, to help navigate our way around, we'll be using my 1923 Michelin guidebook, period-correct maps, and you'll have to excuse me for a moment. I've got an appointment with the optician. Nothing major, just testing my eyes. Barnard Castle is a small market town of around 5,500 people, a slight increase from the days of my guidebook when there were around 4,700 people living here. Despite its small size, my guidebook suggests several things to see and do, including the actual Barnard Castle, but that's exactly what they'll be expecting us to do. So instead, we'll take a look at some other old stuff, such as Barnard Castle's Market Cross, which today is disguised as a roundabout. It was built in 1747 and is seemingly in a fairly original state. Traditionally, structures like this were built to serve as a meeting place or, of course, as a place to hold a market. But this building has also seen use as a town hall, a fire station, a courtroom and a toll booth, so it's definitely delivered good value for money over the years. A fun local legend associated with the Market Cross is signified by two holes in the building's weather vane. It's said that these are the result of an impromptu shooting competition between two individuals, a soldier and a gamekeeper. Over a few pints in the Turk's Head pub, they argued as to who was the better shot, to the point where they settled the argument by using the weather vane as a target. Taking aim from the pub's doorway, because we all carried guns back then, they both took a shot and it turns out they both nailed it first time, so they were just as good as one another. Jolly good show, chap. More pints. There's another old and interesting building to be found just down the road that my guidebook refers to as Blay Groves, or Ye Olde House. It's this rickety looking building, and it is indeed an old house. In fact, it's believed to be the oldest house in the town, having been built sometime in the 1400s. However, it has received a fair bit of restoration work over the years, presumably to keep the whole thing from collapsing, but it does retain its original appearance and it stands out when compared to the other straight buildings. Okay, it's time to make our way to the next destination, and whilst the A67 would be the more direct route, we'll be heading along the A688 because it suits my narrative far better. The road hasn't changed all that much since the old days, but there is an exciting lay-by to look at. Well, it's definitely a lay-by. The road used to follow this route, but like we've seen in many previous episodes, the road has been realigned to widen it and make it safer by removing any unnecessary corners. Exciting it is not, but just across that field is something a little bit more interesting. It's Barford Raceway. Yeah, I'm still in the lay-by. I couldn't get close to the raceway on foot, but no bother. Barford Raceway was set up in 1990 and built on the site of an old army barracks that was demolished in the 1960s. It's your classic oval race circuit, suitable for mad skids and stock car racing. And when it first opened, they used to do speedway motorcycle races, but I believe that came to an end in the early 2000s. Either way, the circuit is still here, and it's a proper grassroots motorsport venue that I wanted to bring to your attention because if you're in the area and looking for something to do, don't bother with a crappy old castle, come here instead. Well, not here, this is a lay-by. Cockfield. Just up the road is Cockfield, and that's a struggle on Google, let me tell you. But is there a Cockfield or Field of Cocks in Cockfield? Not exactly, but there is a Cockfield Fell, which is some area, but it turns out that this unassuming landscape is one of England's largest scheduled ancient monuments. How is this possible, I hear you ask? Well, it's said that Cockfield Fell is one of the most important early industrial landscapes in Britain. Since the early 1300s, it would seem that the area was home to some coal mines and quarries, and later on, possibly some of the world's first industrial railways and tramways, all contributing to that thing called the Industrial Revolution. However, there are records that suggest the site was originally home to some Iron Age settlements, so the industrial heritage here stretches back over several centuries. I imagine that's why it's now a scheduled monument. It's called Cockfield, though. Anyway, moving on, and we'll continue along the A688. However, when we reach a place called St Helens, Auckland, whatever that is, in order to follow the period-correct route, we'll need to turn off the A688 and take this route along the A68 instead. We'll end up in the same place, so it's a waste of time, but at least we're sticking to the old route. And where we end up is a town called Bishop Auckland. In the days of my guidebook, a fairly busy place with around 14,500 residents. At the time, this was considered a huge increase from what was previously a small village. Things changed in the 1800s with the arrival of the railways, which allowed for the easy transportation of coal, which around here is plentiful, and this led to over 60 collieries opening in the area, collectively employing 16,000 people, which is more than the population of Bishop Auckland. Just down the road from Bishop Auckland is a place called Shildon, and it's the location of the world's first public railway. The Stockton and Darlington Railway would open in 1825, and their first line connected the collieries here at Shildon down to Darlington. And interestingly, under the Darlington section, my guidebook mentions number 1 locomotive, the world's first steam engine to carry passengers, which at the time was housed at Banktop Railway Station in Darlington. But it's not there anymore, because you'll now find number 1 locomotive at the Locomotion Railway Museum in Shildon, which is a truly amazing museum that's run by a charity. It's open all year round and 7 days a week, unlike the Cotswold Motoring Museum. More importantly though, it's free entry, which is remarkable given everything that's on offer, but of course the museum are happy to accept donations. The museum opened in 2004 and has since exceeded visitor expectations, which is pleasing to hear and a testament to the work put in by volunteers. Well, that was fun, but move on we must, and we're heading to our final destination along the A6072 and then the A68, which in more recent times has been upgraded to a dual carriageway. Fair enough, but there's another interesting lay-by that's been created as a result. This lay-by has a bit of a reputation for its use for things other than parking. I'm not sure what, but what I'm interested in is the now abandoned stretch of road. Certainly the lay-by used to be part of the old road before the dual carriageway came along, but the old road used to extend further down, long since replaced, but if we take a look in the bushes we can find some traces and remains of the old road. Our final destination, that's probably not our final destination, but I've said it now, is the market town of Darlington. But don't let that fool you, it's a large town with over 100,000 residents, and while smaller in the days of my guidebook, there were still over 65,000 people living here. The town size is mostly down to the railway industry. As mentioned, the world's first railway opened here in 1825, and my guidebook mentions locomotive number 1, but since we've covered that already, let's discuss a different sort of engine. Because Darlington is home to Cummins UK, who manufacture diesel engines, the first of which came in 1919 when the company was first established in the United States, making them well over 100 years old. Today, Cummins employ over 75,000 people around the world and do $30-odd billion in turnover. The Darlington factory would open in 1964, initially producing their V6 and V8 diesel engines, but these were not a sales success in the UK, but were well received elsewhere in the world, so the factory ended up exporting most of what it produced. However, in more recent times, they've moved into the research and development of hydrogen and battery powertrains, probably a sensible move given that the days of 10-litre diesel engines are numbered, and hopefully it keeps the 1,750 people who work here employed for many years to come. To end, I've come to a place called Piercebridge, as recommended by my guidebook, because here we find some interesting Roman fort remains to explore, including a bridge, and we like a bridge. The thing is, this bridge is perhaps more of a mystery than it is fact. It's thought that there was a bridge crossing the River Tees built in 19 AD at this location, and whilst it remained in use for centuries, in the 1700s it was damaged and washed away during a flood, leaving nothing but piles of rubble to be discovered later on in the 1970s during quarrying work. But some historians believe that it wasn't a bridge at all and was actually a navigation dam and overspill channel, the suggestion being that the Romans were using river-based transport more than road, and that may well be the case. All I know is it's a pile of stones. And there we are then, guys. That's all we've got time for this week. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, there is of course a button specifically for that, and if you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing so. That'd be wicked sweet awesome. Enjoy the rest of your week, whatever it is you get up to. My name's John. You've been watching Auto Shenanigans, and I'll see you guys next time for another exciting Great British Road Journey. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.